Hi everyone, my name's Kate and I'm really thrilled to be here at Aussie Fest today. I've got lots of new news about Ultimate Winery Experiences Australia to share with you. Your timing's really great because we started 2022 when our borders all lifted internally, being able to visit all our wine regions, check in with our wineries and just see what's been happening on the ground while we've all been away. There's a lot going on. The vintage is underway and we're really thrilled to be able to share some new news about experiences that are in development and about to launch as our international visitors come back, as well as share a couple of videos that only recently finalised production. In fact, they only finalised last Friday, so you guys are the first ones to see them. So before we get into that though, I wanted to really just remind you where we fit into the mix when it comes to the rest of Tourism Australia's signature experience collectives. So we were the third collective to be brought to life by Tourism Australia, and we still have a very solid dotted line to them when it comes to how we work and how we integrate our winery experiences with our sister collectives. So that means when you're thinking about great walks, great golf courses, luxury lodges, discover Aboriginal experiences, the wildlife journeys and great fishing, there's often a winery experience that fits in with that, and it's one of ours. We've been going for 9 years. And 9 years ago, we started with 9 wineries who all got together because they realized that doing a tasting was one thing when you go to visit a winery, but that opportunity to open the cellar door and invite special customers in who were interested in learning more about the food and wine scene in Australia was a real opportunity. So we started 9 years ago with 9 wineries. We now find ourselves with 25 wineries from 16 wine regions around the country. And collectively, as we go into our new contractual year in early April, we're able to put together and offer you 104 bookable experiences. Now, those experiences have all been priced up to appeal to travellers, obviously, and I'll tell you a little bit more about our pillars and the way that we create those experiences. But from the get-go, you need to know that these are being priced for distribution. They're commissionable and they're easy for you to book. We make a real priority around making sure that the wineries, A, have the perfect product developed, but they're also then connected into wherever their distributors are, whatever platforms they're using. And of course, that they're easy to book. And the thing, I guess, to get to know, think about from the get-go is that our wine regions are really accessible and easy to reach from any of the major gateways. So with our 104 bookable experiences, when we create those, they generally fit into one of 4 themed pillars that we put together. The first one is food and wine and that matching experience. And we know that our customer base, they love great food and wine, but they love it even more if the winemaker's pouring the wine that they're drinking. They're getting to talk to the owner of the vineyard who might have had those vines in his or her family for a couple of generations, and they're eating food that's perfectly matched to that wine. And the reason it's perfectly matched is it grew just there. And that provenance of the food, the terroir of the wine, and the fact that the whole local community feedback is really important to our customers. And I think for your customers over in the UK, it's going to be a really interesting way to think about integrating a winery experience into some of the itineraries that you're putting together. So we have our food and wine pillar. We also have a series of really fun DIY experiences where it's about education, but it's certainly not intimidating, stuffy, classroom style. Our master classes are about rolling your sleeves up and getting hands-on. So when you're looking at things like the blending bench at Darrenberg in the Barossa Valley, the art of sparkling experience where you learn to make your own sparkling at Joseph Cromie in Tasmania, and another sparkling masterclass that we've just introduced while you've been away in a region called Orange with Printy Wines, who are really elevated and they make amazing sparkling wine. So that's an example of some DIY experiences. We have cooking classes, we have art classes, yoga in the vines, the whole works is part of our winery. They're part of our winery experiences. A really important pillar for us is the way that we celebrate in style. And my God, we've been able to, through COVID, being able to pick the eyes out of every possible reason to celebrate and make the most of that. And so if you're thinking about a customer of yours who's celebrating a milestone, it could be just the fact that people are getting together, but it may be a birthday, it may be a new job, it might be all sorts of things. And they're looking for a place to really settle in and celebrate, reconnect with their friends and family. We have a lot of those locations that are really easy for you to book in and check in on different types of experiences that we can offer to make it easy to celebrate in style. And then the final pillar for us is what we call the discovery pillar, and that's really around the destination. And what we've noticed while COVID's been in place and the restrictions have been there is that whenever our customers have had a chance to think about getting together, it's not been about just visiting, doing one thing and then going back to their hotel or to their home. It's been about really getting into that wine region, really parking themselves in a fabulous hotel, and then getting in touch with us to really find out, I guess, not just what's one winery I can visit and one winery experience I can kind of grab onto. It's been what else is there to do? Can I connect the wineries in interesting ways? How do I get from A to B? And so we've been able to collate and collect all that information, and it's ready for you under our discovery pillar. While I'm talking about where our wineries are and connecting them, I'm just going to share the screen so you can see where our wineries are. So as I mentioned, we have 25 wineries in 16 wine regions around the country. There's some really famous regions here that you will know very well. And I guess with your direct flights starting again, we might kick off with Western Australia. We have a winery called Mandoon Estate in the Swan Valley, which is Mandoon's actually only 15 minutes from Perth Airport. And then we have 3 hours from Perth, very easily accessible again, 3 beautiful wineries down in the Margaret River. If you then think about connecting out of Margaret River, there's now a direct flight that goes from Margaret River into Melbourne. And in Victoria, we've currently got 6 different wineries that cover regions like the Yarra Valley, the Mornington Peninsula, but then lesser known regions that are still very accessible, like Ngambie, which is only 90 minutes from Melbourne, and the King Valley, which has been a real discovery for Australians over the past 2 years. Really beautiful wineries along what we call Prosecco Road, and they're part of our mix as well. When you think about great wine regions, you also can't go past South Australia, and for us, that's the heartland. We have wineries in the Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale, and of course, we've got Penfolds. And later on in this presentation, I have some exciting news to share with you about new wineries that are joining us from South Australia. Going down to Tassie, again, we'll have exciting news about new wineries joining us, but Tassie's really, it's famous for so many things, but their sparkling wine scene is super famous. And amazingly, the quality, the processes, and the way that they share those processes with you is alive and well at our wineries at Joseph Cromie, and then again at Marilla. Marilla's owned by Mona, and they have a sister winery that's about to be integrated into our collective. New South Wales has been humming along really nicely while you've been away. We have 3 wineries in the Hunter Valley. We have Tyrrell's, who've been there for 150 years. Brokenwood, who's got a brand new cellar door, and then one of our founding members is Audrey Wilkinson. And then, of course, over the Blue Mountains, not that far from Walden Valley, one of the luxury lodges, we have a winery called Printy Wines, and I mentioned them before. They're in a really elevated, they're in a GI or a geographical indication region, which is classified by how high they are. It snows there in winter, and they make fantastic white wines, Rieslings, Chardonnays, and of course their sparkling is really famous as well. And even in Queensland, we still have Syrah there at Mount Cotton. It's equally placed between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and most people think of Queensland for shopping, for the beach and for the wildlife. We can incorporate all that into great winery experiences at Syrah. They have glamping tents on a lake. The winery is just there, and they've got really fascinating ways that they can weave their wine production story into a stay for your customers. So I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing our video that I mentioned before. So the first video I want to show you is called After Sunset. With our wineries, many of them have been either developing accommodation on site or a relationship with a fantastic accommodation house not far away. And there's a real range there, I guess, for us. And when we think about that opportunity to extend Tourism Australia's purpose is to invite the world to experience the Australian way of life. We extend that to invite the world to experience the Australian way of wine. And the real way to experience that is to stay overnight. So the video I'm about to show you is called After Sunset, and it features 3 wineries who showcase really different ways that you can stay overnight. We'll start again with Mandoon, who I mentioned was in Perth in the Swan Valley. They have a 5-star hotel that's located between the Vines and the Swan River. And again, it's the best breakfast I've ever had has been at Mandoon Estate. So you'll hear a little bit from them. Then we then also include St Hugo. Now, St Hugo have an old cottage that was built in the 1850s. It's actually the home of the Grant family, who were the originators of Jacobs Creek. The cottage has a beautiful kitchen garden. It's on the banks of the creek, and it's a really unique place to stay in a very historic region, which for many of the wines that are well known overseas, this is where they come from. The final winery we're going to show you is, of course, Syrah, and Syrah has those glamping tents. Syrah have developed a whole lot of new experiences around the glamping experience. So I'm just going to sign off for a little while now and share that video with you. I'll see you in a sec.
As soon as the sun starts to set, the winery becomes more quiet, but there's something really charming about it. No one's here, but it's full of wildlife. And yeah, the lighting that sets on the vines is gorgeous at that time of day. Our region's special because on the other side of the property is literally 10 minutes drive to the beach. So we've got beach views, but also rolling landscapes with forests, and we've got lavender fields. You can get your food and your wine, but you can also get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. I even feel it as soon as I drive up the driveway, I'm instantly relaxed. You feel like you're a million miles away, but you're not really.
I think I love St Hugo so much because of the spot where we are is quite isolated. You can really get lost in the venue. And also the label represents some of the most premium Australian wine. You can book the Jacobs Creek cottages and you basically get to experience the venue at night all on your own. Around dusk, you'll start seeing the families of kangaroos coming through. You can hear the birds, you can hear the wind, and it just starts to feel like you're here in the middle of nowhere, in luxury though. The scenery and the architecture, if not for the wine, is enough to visit. But also if you're a wine fan, I think we have some of the most competitive, balanced, premium wines you can drink. And the food offering, you definitely will not leave hungry.
We're about a 25-minute drive northeast of Perth. We're in a suburb of Caversham, which is in the heart of the Swan Valley. It's one of the few vineyards that comprises award-winning fine dining, casual dining, outdoor beer garden, luxury accommodation, function rooms. There's always something to do here at Mandoon. We have some of the oldest commercial Verdelho vines anywhere in the valley here, so we're quite proud of our heritage and history. After dark, you really do feel like it's your own Mandoon. You can get outside and start to really explore the winery at large.
If you live in a city and you just feel like you want to get away from it all, this is the ultimate experience.
I think the Barossa Valley is really accessible. There's something to do for everyone. It's a family-friendly location as well.
It's just you. It's the estate, the sleeping vines, a nice glass of red, and nature and bird life surrounding you. So what more could you ask for?
So what more could you ask for indeed? I love the end to that video. I love that whole video, actually. I'm so thrilled it's been finalised at last. And I love how it finishes up with that idea of, what more could you ask for? It's just you, the sleeping vines, the nature and the wildlife that's part of that. And I think to combine that with amazing food and wine is a really special experience. And it leads into what we call the reserve range. So we have our classic experiences. There's 104. They're all in every rate sheet and with all your inbounders and so on. But I guess if you're looking to create something that's really customized and tailor-made for your clients, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. That's what we're there for. We are the single point of contact for you when it comes to everything to do with the best in Australia's wine tourism. And that idea of staying after sunset and creating something really, really unique, I think is within your grasp and something that you can offer your clients when they're traveling, coming out here to Australia. They might be looking to reconnect with their friends and family here. They might be traveling with friends who they haven't seen for a long time. We can create those special, what we call reserve range experiences, which will provide your customers with unique access to people and places at different times of the day, different wines and what have you. There's all sorts of things that we can tweak based on the rate sheet that will really end up being a customized, tailor-made experience that your clients are going to love you for. So we're here for you to help you create those amazing celebrations in style. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about in this particular part of the session is how we connect those classic wine experiences. And the way that we do that, we call them wine trails. And we've been talking about different suggested itineraries for a long time, but we've now been able to create bookable wine trails. So I'm just going to share the screen and show you what they look like. So we have a series, and they're really new, they're really recent, because we've been able to work with the wineries who have the bookable products on their site, on our site, and with your distributors to start to connect them and price in transfers as well. So you can see here how we've got the four major wine regions, and it's not all of our wine regions. There are some other icons experiences that are works in progress, but you can see how we're suggesting and creating a really practical way to do the icons of Margaret River, to do the icons of the Hunter Valley, the Yarra Valley, and McLaren Vale. We have similar connected experiences, bookable wine trails in the works for the King Valley, connecting in the Mornington Peninsula with the Yarra, the idea of cross-country wine trails. If you remember, there's that new flight that goes from Margaret River to Melbourne. You can really create a cross-country wine trail that will blow your customers' minds, particularly those that are really into their food and wine. So don't forget, when you're looking at ways to really put together an itinerary for Australia that links in, yes, the icons of Australia, you've got, you know, the wildlife, you've got the beautiful beaches, and of course the really fun, friendly people, but we bring that food and wine thing to life. We connect them in the experiences in really interesting ways, and we make it easy for you to book. So it's just something to think about when you're thinking, what am I going to do with these customers that want to go to Australia? Is it just the same old that you were booking before COVID? Or can you bring them some new opportunities and new suggestions and bring them to the table? So with that in mind, I just wanted to introduce our next video, which is, again, it's kind of a cross-country wine trail. It's based around a variety. We call it Something Sparkling. And when you see it, you'll see how we really bring together, I guess, three wineries who one's in Tasmania, one's in Orange, and one's in the King Valley. But again, you can see the passion for the products that they're creating when it comes to wine, and how we can extend that out into really creative winery experiences. So I'll leave you to it, really, and I hope you enjoy it. Something Sparkling.
I'm standing at the pavilion at Joseph Cromie Wines. We're 15 minutes south of Launceston, and we're one of the few wineries in Tasmania that grows, makes, and bottles everything on island. And when you come to Joseph Cromie, you actually have the ability to go behind the scenes and see how your wine's made. Meet the people behind the brand, get to know the story, and take ownership, because you get the opportunity to taste the wines that may be works in progress. Tasmania is synonymous with some of the best sparkling wine in the world. There's great diversity in styles of the wines that are produced down here. They're elegant, there's purity of fruit, they're complex, and you don't need to buy high-end champagne to see what this style of wine can do.
One of the beauties of Prosecco is that it's a wine that fits pretty much every time of the day, really, because it's simple, it's fresh, it's zesty, it's aromatic. King Valley Prosecco is leading the industry at the moment as far as quality. It's not just a bottle of wine that you buy from a shelf. We like to think that there's more to it. Often people will forget what they are told, but they will never forget what they felt. It's the experience. At Pizzini, it's definitely one of the best places to experience, as I said, Prosecco in all shapes and forms.
Traditional method sparkling is a joy to make, to be honest. It's one of these unique products that involves a lot of process and a lot of time, and when all those pieces come together, you end up with something that's really magnificent at the end of the day. Printhy's based in Orange in central western New South Wales, and today we're sitting at about 1,000 metres above sea level, so we're quite elevated. We've got beautiful views, and is what sets us quite apart from lots of other wine growing regions in the country. it's the reason that we're classified as a cool climate wine region. So the Sparkling Masterclass experience that we offer here at Printhi is a private vineyard tour, a private tasting of all 5 of our traditional method sparklings, and then your own private lunch as well. So lots to do and lots to see when you come here.
It's been 2 very tough years. The best time to do Prosecco is probably now, and the King Valley is here waiting for you.
Our food, our wine, our coastline, our mountains, the place is just full of surprises.
You really do come to one of the most beautiful places in the region. To be frank, there'll be no better place to sit on a beautiful day.
So something sparkling, a joy to make and a joy to drink as well. I think you'd all agree. I just wanted to wrap up by, I hope I've been able to showcase, I guess, the range, the rich diversity and the innovative approach our winemakers and our wineries take to producing their wine and developing and distributing their winery experiences. We often work, we're so aligned with Tourism Australia, and their purpose is to invite the world to experience the Australian way of life. We extend that to invite the world to experience the Australian way with wine. And I think you'll get a sense that, you know, we've hand selected these wineries and the experiences that they've put together, not because they're the same, but because they're different. That rich university, it's my new word, that rich diversity and innovation is so alive and well with our collection. And I guess I wanted to just wrap up by letting you know that while I've been recording this on the Saturday afternoon, the sun's gone over the yardarm. So I'm going to pay a bit of homage to that image that's behind me. I took that in the Barossa Valley about 6 weeks ago. I've been back since then and taken our board there because it is just so beautiful. In all seasons, it's beautiful, but at the moment it's vintage. There's so much activity going on, and we were able to stop in and check out our winery experiences in all of them. And again, that diversity and innovation is alive and well. I have celebrated the end of this by pouring myself a little glass of Barossa Shiraz, and look at that, it looks like I'm drinking the Barossa. Hey, there you go, that's the power of Zoom. But anyway, I wanted to say cheers. I, on behalf of all our wineries, cannot wait to welcome you and your customers back to Australia. It's been a long time between drinks, but we really can't wait to sit down over a glass of something special and think about what's going on in our worlds and what's going to be happening in the future. So all the best and cheers.
Thank you for joining, Kate.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Lovely. I hope everyone enjoyed that little overview of ultimate winery experiences of Australia. We're going to ask Kate a few questions today, but if you have any for her, please do pop them in the chat box. I'm just going to check that we are in fact live. We are. Lovely. Okay, so Kate, firstly, I wanted to kick off by asking you about the new winery experiences that you mentioned. You said you could share some news with us today.
Yes.
You want to go ahead?
I do have exciting new news because, and actually we're still just finalising some of the details around the experiences, but we have 2 new wineries that are joining our portfolio this month. One is in Tasmania. It's called the House of Arras, and really on the global stage, really world famous as far as the sparkling, and they've got a really amazing new experience that's going to be integrated into our range, which is it's basically a sparkling masterclass, but it's in all parts of the site. So you walk in the vines, there is a lot of really interesting information, and there's a really great dog called Flinders, and Flinders has done this experience so many times. He kind of leads it, and so it's not far from Joseph Cromie in northern Tasmania, and they'll be joining us at the end of the month. The other winery that's joining our family is a winery called Hardy's, and Hardy's is in McLaren Vale in South Australia. Really fabulous heritage. They're one of the first families, I guess, of Australian wine when it comes to, they were there very early in the piece. And they recognised before, as they were starting to get ready to apply to join our collective, that they recognised that the way they told their story and their history wasn't that exciting. So they really put a lot of energy into the intrigue and the sense of discovery. And they do this really cool experience in a barrel hall in a cellar but you're blindfolded, and it's kind of a blind tasting. And they did a couple of trial runs with their own winemakers, and there were some very interesting results. And it's one of those ones that's now scheduled. It's scheduled at sundown, so it's called In the Dark. And I'm really excited about including that because we have such depth and range in South Australia. But this will be a really interesting addition to our portfolio. So that's our new news. You heard it here first. Australian agents don't know about it yet. American agents don't know about it.
Wow.
Just you Brits.
Exclusive for our agents there. Fantastic.
Right.
Thanks, Kate. Okay, so we've had a few questions come in from our viewers already. Greg is asking if you're seeing any growth in demand for wineries that offer non-alcoholic wines, as there seems to be more and more choices in supermarkets these days.
Yeah, the low alcohol, no alcohol. A couple of our wineries are definitely, I guess we're known for our innovation and diversity when it comes to winemaking, and they're definitely experimenting in that area. And I have actually done an experience where they did include that as part of the mix. It's I'd say we're going to see more of it in the future. We've definitely identified it as a trend over here as well. And it is really fascinating when you taste those wines because they're still pretty beautiful. The magic is still there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine. And Pam has popped a question in the chat about wines that aren't exported. So do any of your wineries offer wine tastings for products that aren't exported?
Yes. So it's a really interesting range, and what our wineries do export, and a lot of our wines are sold in the UK. But the whole zing of, I guess, of going to a cellar door, but then beyond the cellar door, as we invite you to do, is that you do taste amazing wines that are really only available at the cellar door. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that they can't be sent overseas and can't be, shipped to the UK. But I think part of, again, if you've got customers that are looking to taste different wines that they might not get at their local Waitrose, then we definitely will be able to offer them and incorporate them into our experiences.
Okay. Can you name any wineries off the top of your head that would offer that, or would that be something that we need to research and get back to them?
With 25 wineries, I can, but I could be here all night. So
okay,
I guess
other end of the scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
No problem.
And it's often, I tell you what it is, it's often the example. The example is when we've had a few tough years. We had the bushfire year, we were on the back of a drought. And so the yields, while the quality has been at a really premium level, what they call the yields are really low. So there are some wines that have been, I guess, flagship wines for, like, I'm thinking of Yalumba, I'm thinking of wineries over in the Hunter Valley, where their flagship wines, they still made them. The quality was amazing, but there's just not that much of it. So you won't find them in the UK, or they might be only if you've got members of wine clubs and so on. So it's kind of those flagships where they just didn't have enough to allocate into their UK markets. And that's probably the example there. But if you have any questions, Pam, or whoever asked that, about a particular winery or particular variety of wine, we can definitely, it's very easy for us to get the answers.
Great, thank you. And then Andrew and Laura McPhillips have popped a question about any family-friendly experiences at the wineries. I mean, I know that's not really the target market for you, but are there any wineries that people could visit with children?
They can visit with children, but our experiences are for the grown-ups. And it's just something, I guess, in terms of that invitation to go beyond the cellar door. Our target market, as I think I say it all the time, so I'm sure I said it in the video, is around experience seekers who love great food and wine, but they love it even more if they're learning more about that, they're meeting the winemaker and so on. And so for some, their kids are welcome, there's no doubt about it. And we have restaurants, we have cafes, we have things like that. But if you're looking for a really extensive playground and that sort of thing, it's probably not the right day to bring the kids along, or to I don't know, there's some regions like the Yarra Valley has an amazing chocolatier down the road. Maybe leave the kids with the chocolate while you go to the wine.
Oh, that's a good tip.
We definitely, our experiences are for the grown-ups. This is about, connecting with family and friends. And I understand that you'll be traveling with kids, but for little kids, some of them love just hanging out with the adults, but there's only so many wine tastings they're going to enjoy. So it's probably not the perfect experience for them.
Okay, great, thank you. And May here has put a question about lodgings, kind of accommodation at the wineries. Do all of your 25 wineries have accommodation, or is it just a handful?
No. So I mentioned in that beautiful video, we've got 8 that have accommodation on site and a really interesting range of cottages, glamping tents, full on 5-star hotels, and the rest. Probably another 6 have a relationship with a hotel that's really close, like literally across the road, or a local pub or something like that. And for the others, if you look on our website, we actually, when we go to in region, we get asked all the time, yes, what's the wineries? Which winery should I go to? What are the experiences? But the next question is always, where should I stay? So we have recommendations from our wineries that are all listed on our website as well. So yeah, it's the accessibility, being close to the gateway. Sometimes you can still stay in the city, but I think it's much funner in the country.
Yeah, okay. And one thing I was wondering is, are you able to give us a price range for these winery experiences? What kind of cost are we looking at for these?
Sure. So we have 25 wineries in 16 wine regions, and this year on the rate sheet, they have put together 104 bookable experiences that range in price from $50 to $1,500 per person. Wow. So it's and really we analyze this every year, and about 25% are $100 or less. The next 25% are $200 per person or less, then $300, and then the remaining quarter are anywhere from $300 to $1,500 per person.
Okay, and what kind of experience would you be getting for that $50 and then the $1,500? What kind of?
I think for a lead-in experience is going to, we're all about going beyond the cellar door. So it'll be an invitation beyond the cellar door. You might not be with the winery owner, but you'll be with a wine ambassador who really knows their stuff. And you'll be introduced to the wines in a private setting. You have some food to match those wines. And I guess the greater the value, if you're wondering about the difference between, say, a $50 experience and a $150 experience, is it could be the wines, it could be the place that you have that experience, it could be the people that are hosting it, and the length of time that you're going to be spending learning more about our wonderful Australian wine. So there's a lot of levers that we pull to extend that. But on average, I'd say our average experience is around $150 to $200 per person.
Okay, great.
And
sorry to interrupt, Kate. It's 10 o'clock, so we're just about out of time.